All right, today I'm here with Robert Vest, and what branch of the military did you serve in?
Army.
Army? What years?
82 to 2002.
Oh, wow. So full career then, huh?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
That's great. Straight out of high school and...
No. I got out of high school in 78 and went to work at a factory in Bolivar.
Okay.
And got married, had 2 kids, and then I went in.
Okay. So just the opportunity just sounded good, and you were just like, I need
No,
a change?
it was just, I needed a change.
Yeah.
So I decided I'd go in. The recruiter actually wanted my brother.
Okay.
And then he looked at me and said, "Do you like shooting?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Do you like camping?" I said, "Yeah." I got the job for you, and 2 months later, I was in the infantry.
Man, that recruiter got you in for a full career after just saying you like fishing, camping, and floating. Let's go.
Well, I sit there, and for a lot of years, I thought, can you cuss my name? He was an asshole. What did he get me into?
Yeah. Okay.
But later on in my career, around the 16-year mark, I had to go out on recruiting duty and be a recruiter in Zanesville, Ohio. So I understood where he come from.
Yeah, of course.
So,
you just finally got to see from his perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. So what did he get you? What did you sign up initially to do? What was your job?
Infantry.
Infantry.
Yeah, just plain old infantry.
Did your brother go in too?
Nope.
He didn't
go out. No.
He got you. They didn't get the brother.
He didn't get the brother, but he got me.
Okay, full career. So where'd you go to basic at?
Whenever I enlisted, I'd never been really out of the tri-state area. I lived in a small town halfway Missouri.
Oh yeah.
Furthest I think I'd ever been was Kansas City, but I ended up going to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, just for 2 weeks, and it was hot because it was September.
Humid as hell too.
It was bad.
Yeah.
And then we got our initial issue of all of our clothes and everything, and then they sent me to Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was at Fort Benning. Most jobs in the military, you got your basic and your AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training. Well, our basic training covered AIT, so it was 6 months of nothing but basic training.
Ooh, sounds like stripes, man.
It sounds like they wore our ass out.
I can imagine. Oh,
it wasn't like today. They could actually physically touch
do whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Man, that's a long basic.
And I still remember, now that's been since 1982, the senior drill sergeant's name after all that time. And it was Sergeant First Class Con. A lot of people can't say they remember that far back, but the thing of it is, when I went in 82, you got to remember the Vietnam War basically stopped in 74. So a lot of the Vietnam vets were drill sergeants.
Yep.
And they were assholes.
Oh yeah.
So it was quite an
tough
experience.
Dudes.
Yeah.
Tough dudes. Very tough. So did you spend any time overseas?
Yeah. My first duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay.
I went to Alaska and trained. Went to Panama. Got my jungle warfare badge there. While I was down there, they had some Vietnam pilots.
Speaking of hot weather.
It was.
Man, I can't even imagine.
Well, that jungle is not for anybody. And it gives you more perspective of what the Vietnam vets went through.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If you ever get into the jungle.
Yeah.
Because 3 layers of canopy, even in the middle of the day, it's like early morning, you can't hardly see. And that gave you a whole new idea of what they went through in Vietnam. And their pilots, amazing. They would fly the map of the earth, and you'd be over the jungle with your feet. You could actually, 2 feet below the skid was the canopy of the jungle.
Yeah.
And they was just left, right, just following the terrain. It can make you sick pretty quick.
I can imagine.
But I spent my initial enlistment a year and a half at Fort Campbell, and then they sent me to Germany. And I was in Schweinfurt, Germany for 4 years.
Did you like it?
It was awesome.
Yeah, everyone says the same thing, especially they were
awesome.
over in Germany in the 80s. And I've met a few doing this over the years, and everyone says the same thing. Get on a bike, go anywhere you want in Europe.
when I got over there, we went from being 11 Bravos, which is straight leg infantry, to 11 Mike, which is mechanized, which they fielded the Bradley fighting vehicle, the Bradley tank. So as soon as it come out, we were trained on it, and we become 11 Mikes after that. So, and that's a whole experience itself, being in a tank.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, the Bradley took over the place of the 113s, which is just a personnel carrier. All they did was throw some guns on it, a main gun, and it's supposed to be an armor vehicle, but it had its downfalls too.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard to make those big things like that move and be. I mean, you can put a bunch of stuff on it, but that just creates a whole bunch of other problems.
Yeah. I stayed in Germany, like I say, for 4 years. I only had to do a 3-year tour, but I liked it so much we decided to stay an extra year.
Yeah.
Of course, they had some incentives to keep you there.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed Germany.
That's awesome.
And then after that, I come back to the armpit, which is Fort Hood, Texas.
Yeah.
That is an armpit.
Yeah.
So.
Not a big fan of Fort Hood.
Not at all. Not at all.
Hot too. God, they
It's
send you to
really
a lot of hot
hot.
places. But you got 4 years of Germany, so
Yeah.
it's not too bad.
Well, I ended up overall doing 7 years in Germany.
Really? So you got
Yeah.
a chance to go back then.
I went back.
Nice.
Yeah. So went to Mannheim the second time, and that's where the American prison is over there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few people in there.
Yeah, I've heard.
There is, but for the most part, when I got back to Fort Hood, I was getting ready to leave actually, and of course, Desert Storm kicked off. So we was one of the first units to go over there.
Wow.
And of course, we sit in waited in Saudi Arabia. I think it took our tanks 45 days to get there by boat. So then after they got there, then the port couldn't hold all the soldiers, so as soon as our equipment got there, they just pushed us out into the desert. And that sucked.
I can imagine.
It really, really sucked. When we was at Fort Hood before we left, our unit was getting ready to disband. They was disbanding it. So all of our support in our brigade was gone. They'd already got rid of them, and they was getting ready to get rid of us and move us to other units. And when this kicked off, they sent us over, and we didn't have a support. So they attached us to the 1st Cav Division, and 1st Cav couldn't keep up with us. I mean, they just couldn't support us. I mean, we was out, and it's pretty funny. We took ponchos. You got to understand, on a Bradley, you got dismounts, and then you got the mounted crew. Mounted crew consists of a gunner, a driver, and a commander. And then you got 8 dismounts in the back of each one, 4 tanks per company. So that's 32 guys you got on the ground, whereas you got 12 guys actually stay on the vehicle.
Yeah.
So when we got over there, we kind of split up. We were still close to the vehicles, but we had like all the dismounts was over here, the mounted stayed with the vehicles. I was platoon sergeant. Well, I had been a platoon sergeant, and they brought in another platoon sergeant to replace me because they outranked me. And we had a scud alert. And when you have a scud alert, everybody's got to get on the tank. Well, I got all the dismounts ready because I was in charge of them and sent them to the tanks. Well, the platoon sergeant had come in. He had never worked in the field before. And he was in the tank. Well, I noticed my guys wasn't getting on the tank because I had to make sure everybody got on. I was the last one to get on. And I said, why ain't you guys on? They said he won't drop the ramp. So I jumped up on the tank, kicked the driver's hatch open. It's a latch you kick and it pops up. I said, let the ramp down. He said, Sergeant Galvin won't let me, who was the platoon sergeant. I said, you either put it down or I'll rip your ass out of there and put it down myself. So he lets it down and I jump off. And I run around there and he's up against a turret crying. Just bawling his eyes out. And I heard on the radio they did a stand down. There's a false alert. So I had the guys leave, and I went in there, and I ate his ass out so bad. Went to the first sergeant and said, "You gonna have to do something with him. He ain't gonna make it. He make a decision like that, and it's just a fake alert, you know." So, and the guys hated him. They just couldn't stand it
because he had no experience.
No.
How are you going to take command? I mean, it's hard to. That's that's one of the things they say about leaders. You're pushing. You're pushing. Yeah,
Either are or you ain't.
You're pushing with the guys up front. You have to be.
What's amazing is last year, some of them got a hold of me on Facebook. Now these are guys I hadn't seen in 28 years, and 5 of them come to my house, and a couple of them stayed a week. The other guy stayed like 4 days. One big party of drinks. I mean, it was an awesome time.
That's great.
But it was the only time since I come back that I actually went to bed and slept all night.
Really?
I don't know why. And then the 12th of next month, there's 10 of them supposed to be coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got them coming, from Fort Benning, Georgia, from Myrtle Beach, Pennsylvania.
You guys should be going to Myrtle Beach. What the hell are you thinking?
They want. Well, I'm the oldest,
but it's also probably more low key coming here, especially with everything that's going on. It's probably a lot better to come here, more low key.
Well, most of them alcoholics.
Yeah.
The Lord did screw you up. Yeah, we were down at the Highway of Death, so it wasn't like these guys never seen any combat.
Yeah.
One of them, we was clearing a compound, and I sent a squad on the right side to go through the cars, another squad to the left side. Now you remember, I had 32 guys, so I split them up, and then I took down through the middle of the building. It was like a hangar, but I mean, it was like, probably 400 yards long. It was a big building with a lot of rooms in it, and we was clearing them from room to room. And then all of a sudden, in this window, somebody pops up. So I pull my M16 up, and I pull the trigger on him by having my M16 on safe. And to this day, I thank God I did, because it was one of my soldiers. And he was on the outside, and he jumped up in the window. So, needless to say,
shoot his ass for that too, I bet.
He's never forgot it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he tells that story to everybody.
I bet
that I about killed his ass over there.
Yeah.
But he's in Myrtle Beach, and he comes, and there, it's amazing how you've got such a bond after almost 30 years.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, it's what doesn't kill you, make you stronger. And when you're going through something like that with other people, no one else is ever going to understand. Even other veterans, like, you guys get each other, but your bond are with the guys that you served with because of what you went through together.
Exactly.
And no one else is going to be able to compare that. Your family can't. Your kids can't.
No.
It's just those guys, and that's and it's a weird and it's an interesting thing about being humans, that's the way things are.
Right.
On completely different levels. Even with, you think about, for some going through, I'm not comparing being in the military and high school or the same thing, but for some, high school is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and but some of those friendships that you make that last a lifetime, it's because you all had to endure that hell together.
Exactly.
It's not the same level of shit, but at the same time, it's,
Well, we had our fun times.
Yeah,
okay?
Of course, you have to.
We had our fun times. Like, over there was a stickler. You got, of a morning, before first light, most attacks that happened in Vietnam either in the early morning or in the middle of the night. So they got what they call stand to. That's where you get everybody out, everybody's awake, expecting an attack. Of course, it was for...
Hey, Mikey, how you doing, brother?
Good.
Of course, it was just for training purpose only. Get your ass up, get out there, be ready for that.
Yeah.
Well, we did that every day while we go there, and the war hadn't begun yet. And so on Sundays, now you trained every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, after stand to on Sunday, we would go train for about 4 hours, and then we could play football, something like that. You know what I'm saying? For a couple hours, and then some downtime. Well, I sent my guys out because I had to go see the first sergeant. I said, hey, Sergeant Mitchell, you take these guys out there, do your training with them, and then we'll come back and play football. He said, okay. So I went and seen the first sergeant. I come down there, and when I got down there, there's a big sand dune. And all the guys was down below it. Now, we're talking about a 25, 30-foot drop. Well, there's two guys standing up on top, and they's going to jump off that sand dune. Now, the thing of it is, that sand looks nice and cushy.
It's not.
The boy jumped off, and he hit with his feet, and his head hit between his legs and actually hit the sand. I mean, it was just like feet hit, head come forward, and hit. Well, he broke his leg.
Oh, of course he did.
Bone sticking out. And I'm like, and here, Sergeant Mitchell and all the guys holding up cards, 8, 9, 10, 10, 10, you know. I was like, you son of a bitches. So I went and I called for a medic. Medic come over there, put him on the gurney, and he actually went all the way back to the rear. I mean, back forward to hood. And them guys, you know, when they found out, they was like, hey, we're going to jump off some sand, dude.
Getting out of here.
But, you know, things like that, we had had a good time. And you'd be surprised how ingenious. See, I worked at the prison for a while down here. And you get a bunch of inmates together, and you might have somebody that's a carpenter, somebody that's an electrician. You know, they come up with some pretty
Hell yeah.
elite shit. In the military, it's the same thing because you're getting kids from all backgrounds.
Yeah.
Well, one of our guys was good at making moonshine. So, of course, you know, we had these bottles buried. We get this, in your MREs, you had mixed fruit, you had strawberries. Then you take some yeast, put it in there, mix it with some water, it'll ferment, and we put condoms over the top of the bottle, so when that condom's standing straight up,
That's right.
it's ready.
Yeah.
So every time we got a chance to play football, everybody's just drunk as shit. I mean, drunk as shit. So it was a lot of fun till, you know, actually when the work was
To work. Yeah.
You know, I was one of my soldiers. You got a checkpoint when you come in to our area of operation, our AO, and you put guards out there. Now there's 90% chance nobody, because we was back. You know, it hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
Well, you put a private or an E4 and below in with a buck sergeant, okay, and they keep each other awake. Well, one of my soldiers I had to put out on guard duty with a sergeant from another platoon. Well, the sergeant from the other platoon got out of the foxhole, checkpoint, went to sleep. Left my guy there. Well, when first sergeant come through, my guy was asleep. And first sergeant was assed up. So he calls me up there, and he wanted to bust him. I said, no, you ain't going to bust him. I said, that's bullshit. I said, that E5 wasn't there with him. He crawled out. He's the one that needs his ass chewed. He said, well, he's going to... Thank you. Okay. No, I'm fine. He said, well, then he's going to burn shit. And let me tell you, have you ever burnt shit before?
No, but I've heard the stories. I've heard about it, and I know about that situation.
But what I did,
And it sounds horrific.
I told my first sergeant, I said, well, he ain't going to burn shit. He said, then you're going to burn it. And I said, then I'll burn it. Because I would not let my soldier get punished for something that really wasn't his fault.
Yeah, somebody else's. So you end up having to do it?
I ended up doing it.
Oh, jeez Louise.
You know, and you know what? That soldier is like a brother to me.
I bet.
Even though I was his boss, and outranked, he calls me, checks on me, see if I'm all right.
That's awesome.
But, you know, we're talking, how long goes that?
I mean, they're for life. They're for life, dude.
So,
they're for life.
But I've seen a lot of the country. Like I said, Panama, Alaska, Europe, 7 years, Southwest Asia, Ohio, when I recruited, Fort Hood, Fort Lewis, Washington, Benning. I was all over.
Man, like Johnny Cash.
I was all over.
Everywhere, man. That's great.
Speaking of Johnny Cash, I know you're like
The rock stuff. I listen to all kinds of music.
do you listen to country music?
Classic country, yes. Anything
Well-
95 and pre.
Well, they've got an artist out. He's been out for about 6 years. His name's Cole Swindell.
Yeah, I know Cole. Yeah,
Says you ain't worth the whiskey.
yeah,
this,
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Well, his driver is my son.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
cool. What a gig.
So that afforded me the chance. I've met him,
That's
golfed
awesome.
with him.
Hell yeah.
You know,
Is he a good golfer?
really good golfer.
Really? I bet.
Yeah. When the women's PGA was down in Florida, they had like a celebrity could golf with one of the females
Uh-huh.
or two of them, and he's one that was
Really?
down there golfing. Yeah.
That's cool.
So-
That's awesome. That's great.
And I got to meet, Luke Bryan. I
Yeah.
met so many people through my son.
That's cool.
And he does have a gig.
Yeah, that's a cool gig, man. And those guys usually really, really trust those drivers, man. It's really cool. Well, Food's here. Thanks
Yeah.
for your sharing your story with me today.
All
it was
right.
awesome. It's awesome meeting you. Thank you, of course, for your service, and
Well, thank
thanks
you.
for coming to lunch today, man.
Yeah. Yeah.